Merton and I'm an aeromodeller and an engineer. Join me on a fascinating journey where I show you some of the techniques used in scale aeromodelling. Quick update video just to show you the sort of dilemma I am having at the moment. This is the Dave Woomsley plan of the quarter scale Chipmunk. This is the Jerry Bates plan. And then this green line on this drawing here is from my 3 view or my 5 view. So you can see 3 designers have come up with 3 completely different rudder shapes. So if you put that in front of the judge and he looks at the photograph and he tries to compare them, what's he going to do? So this is the dilemma you have. Jerry Bates, great designer, but only is going to design as well as the 3 view he's using as his reference. Dave Woomsley is only going to design it as well as the 3 view he's studying. And again, mine is only accurate to my own 3 view. So this is where the errors come in, and is why in true scale building you do your own 3 view and you build to your own drawings. It's the only real way to do it. So just having a quick look at the dihedral increase. What I have here on the Jerry Bates plan is I've actually done a forward view of the wing, which is very useful. Not many designers do this, but Jerry does. And you can see here that the wing tube has been set in on a horizontal. So I've extrapolated that down and extended the horizontal out to the wingtip, where I've measured from the horizontal to the tip rib. And on Jerry's drawing, it's 100 millimeters, more or less. So what I've done, let's go back to the tip again, making you seasick. What I've done is I've put a little mark on the drawing, which is where the underside of the wing is on my drawing. And that distance from the horizontal to the underside of the rib is 126.4. That's on my 3 view drawing, so that's where the dihedral should be. So I've drawn a line from that point right the way through to this point here, which isn't going to change, and then where it intersects the ribs, this is W6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1, where it intersects I've measured the distance from the outside of the skin to the new outside of the skin, bottom surface of the wing. So the new bottom surface of the wing is 5 millimeters further up, 4 millimeters further up, 3, 1.7, 0.7, and obviously this one isn't moving. So what that means is, if we take the ribs, that's the distance that we have to alter the hole in a downward manner in each rib to get the dihedral that we want. So what I've got here are the ribs. So if we look at rib, this one here, which is W6, and we find W6, just this one here. What I have to do according to my numbers, I have to move the tube down 5 millimeters. So there's W6. So it needs to come down so that it's touching, so it's right on the wing skin, and it won't come down any lower than that. It can't, otherwise it's going to impact the wing skin. So that's how far W6 has to come down. W5 has to come down 4 millimeters. Should be a little bit more doable. Comes down to there. So that whole circle there, what I'll probably do is just do effectively that. And that's where the new cut will be. Now whether I cut new ones of these with the hole where I want it, or whether I reuse these, I'm not sure, because I'm not going to use this undercarriage mount either. So I might want to cut new versions of these, maybe in 1/8 with 16th ply doublers. We'll see. That was 6, wasn't it? That was right up against the skin. So that would have to be like that. Now a typical trick, if you're having to do this, is to actually cut ply rings that are bigger. You know, the inside diameter is the same as the outside diameter of your tube, and then make it maybe 5mm bigger, and then you can just put a ply ring around the tube once it's in, and that will go across this gap here. There's ways of doing it, but the tube needs to move. I'm still debating what to do about the rudder and fin and fuselage side profile's not looking right, but I'm kind of expecting I'm just going to have to compromise and build the Jerry Bates model as a Jerry Bates model, but the dihedral I can't walk away from, and it's a fairly easy fix, as you can see. Okay, a bit more later. As you can see, I couldn't really resist getting started, and one thing I will say, the Bob Holman parts, the laser cutting, was absolutely superb. Even things like these quarter thick, these are for the undercarriage, and these are packing blocks that go in the wing, and the undercarriage oleo goes through there, and they're quarter and they're cut perfectly, absolutely perfectly. The only downside is that the bigger plates that these go onto have not been cut, they've been omitted, so I'll feed that back to Jerry and Bob. The undercarriage plates are missing. I'm not doing the undercarriage that way anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but what I wanted to just show you was that even quarter ply bits just pushed straight out of the, I'll call it a sprue, but it's not, but out of the holding sheet. And to give you an idea, here's a sheet of the 1/8 ply. Now this is light ply, by the way. All of this is light ply, and I know I said earlier that I was going to replace a lot of it because it was too heavy, but actually it's really nice quality light ply, and it's not that much heavier than balsa, so I may have to amend my thinking on that. But to give you an idea of how easy these bits push out, that's it. And the whole, you know, the model comes apart like that. What I would advise you to do for things like the ribs where there's an aileron or a flap is make sure you write on the bit, otherwise you could suddenly confuse W6 with W5. You know, it's close, it's very close, but you want to make sure you get it right, so don't just push them all out and put them in a box somewhere, label them. So as you can see, I've taken a lot of the fuselage bits apart. I mean, in fact, most parts I've just pushed out and ready to go. As you can see, with that, you know, this is the basic size of the model. It's quite large. Some things have come to light now that I'm assembling it. These are the seats. There's seat 1 and seat 2, which go in like that and like that. But for them to actually slip past these formers, these notches have to be much bigger, much bigger. So this one, you can see I've notched much deeper so that it can go past that one and drop down into its position, sort of like that. You get the idea. So, you know, that's one little error, but it's a minor error. So I'm still looking at the front end and the mount. Unfortunately, because of the way the structure has been designed, I've got no foot space here for the pilot, so his feet would normally go through here. So, and to take away this box is going to be quite difficult. Also, on the full size, you do have a box that runs between the pilot and the co-pilot that has the controls and everything in it, but the box is a similar sort of design to that with a lid, but it's half the width. And to bring these in that far, and to change this box and to change these bulkheads so that they're open is a huge amount of work, and which is why I wanted to design my own, and I will do. I will do at a later stage. But this one for F4H, I don't think I need to go to those measures. So I think I'm pretty much going to build it as it is, and maybe I might change the outline of the fin, which is slightly different to my 3 views. I don't know yet, but we'll look at that. But I think I'm going to have to be a bit more realistic and lower my sights here. This is not an F4C model, it's an F4H. As far as the front goes, I'm not sure yet what to do about this, but I'm probably going to cut the whole front piece off flush with F1. Whether I reduce the weight of F1 is yet to be seen. So if I cut that whole box off flush, then build another box onto the front that comes out to the depth of the engine, to the back of the engine or back of the motor, and then build it so that it actually has containment for the batteries as well. So I think that's going to be the plan, cut that whole section off. But at the moment everything is just pushed together, as you can see. So the next step is to get the jig set up. Jerry does this model on a large jig that you bolt to the bench, and then all the formers and everything sit on the jig, and then you glue them once you're happy with it all. So I think the next step is to join the jig. It's in 2 parts. So this is the jig. What I intend to do is join the 2 sections like that. The fit of that joint is not terribly good, but that doesn't really matter. A long steel ruler. If you haven't got one of these, you may think, why the hell do I need one? Well, you do. They're a lot more useful than you think. So lay that along there so that it's nice and straight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach to the side of this some wooden strips, probably 1 by 1 or something like that, on both sides. That'll act as a flat surface to mount it on the bench, and also it will make it much thicker and stop it moving. The way it's done is we tape or pin, tape is probably the way I'll do it, a piece of 1/4 by 1/4 balsa from one end right the way through to the other, and in my case I'm going to have to probably splice some balsa, and I'll put the splice down the rear end. So you tape the balsa 1/4 to this former, and then you slide all the bulkheads and bits and pieces onto that, and that keeps it nice and straight. I've never built a fuselage like this, so it's all going to be a bit new. Alright, so I'll get this joined and then we'll come back to the model. Here you can see the jig or the cradle that I've made. What you're supposed to do is actually attach this to the bench, but I'm not doing that. and I think it's nice and straight and it's nice and stable, exactly as it is, and this way I can move it around. This is the only bench I've got where it'll fit. So there we go. What I'll do now is I'll move the part built front end onto here and just see how it sits. You'll also notice I've taped the spliced 1/4 by 1/4 balsa spine, which will be the lower spine, onto the jig ready. Here you can see I've now put the forward section and some of the formers onto the jig tool, and I can understand how it was all going together. This is a very, very important stage when you're building. You must dry fit things so you completely understand what goes where and that they fit. That shelf that I told you about, the seat backs, if you don't try it, you won't know that they're not actually cut correctly, so you need to know it. Also, if you looked carefully at the previous shots I showed at the front, and this is what put me onto it, when I laid a piece of quarter in the front section there, it was way too steep onto F1, and I thought, what on earth's going on here? And it didn't seem right. Anyway, it turns out F1 will actually fit completely the other way up. What you have to do is you have to take TBT out and turn it through 180 degrees, and then F1 will go the other way up. So I'd got that bulkhead completely wrong. So you really do need to go through the process of dry fitting everything and making sure you fully understand. I mean, this is a good time to eyeball down stringers and just make sure, you know, there's not one missing, because it's very easy to cut a notch in something when you can dismantle it on the bench. Once this is all glued together, it then becomes much harder. It also gives you an opportunity to think about how you're going to treat the inside of these two cockpits, because it's all very well building this and then sheeting it and putting stringers on, but then a sheeted structure is quite difficult to get inside to then address for detailing and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of modelers actually use plasticard first, then the sheeting, and the plasticard then gives them a lovely finished material on the inside that they can just airbrush, and away you go. It saves a lot of effort and a lot of time, so it's worth thinking about. And that's the key thing, you've got to think about it. So what I'm going to do now, sorry, boring you again, what I'm going to do now is take all this apart and concentrate on building the box, because the box needs to be built on the bench and kept absolutely square and true and everything else. I've had a really good think about the front end, and because I had the bulkhead upside down, that has changed things considerably, because the battery box is not going to be the way it was. It was going to be across the fuselage. I think I can actually go along the fuselage in that box that the fuel tank usually goes in. So I think that might be better, but I need to get the batteries out and have another little play around. But basically, I'm going to leave the box as it is. I'm not going to shorten it or cut any bits off. Build it as is, and then build another box on the front of that to bring me to the motor depth.
the race, an epic battle. I remember 2001. I remember watching that at home, and it was like 4 in the morning, and it was like the best race ever. So yeah, because it's hard on the tires. You got time to. If you do get out front, it is one of those where you are, you know, if you've got the extra little bit of pace, you can pull away. I don't think we're at that stage in this World Cup, and we have one podium. In the last 7 races we've had, Fabio Quartararo has only had one podium. Momentum. It shows where the championship is and what direction it's going in. And without a doubt, the Ducati is the stronger package. You know, last year was a. I was going to see a moment here. I think out to Siberia on the river. Yeah, little wobble, nothing too major. Had it under control. Remember the Ducati lockout on the podium of Valencia last year? So already Yamaha will know their bike hasn't changed much, has it? Let's face it, since Valencia last year. And that Ducati has moved on and now another step. But it's cool. And it's very high construction here as well, on the left side. So that's why we got special tires. They're all asymmetric as well, here, front and rear. Um, so when the guys, it's very difficult to get the proper feedback. At the moment, it looks like they're all getting on kind of better than I thought they would for a first session. It's looking, they look quite confident. The bikes are on the move. It seems that they're getting a lot of feedback. And yeah, talking about the top speed, we've got Fabio Quartararo just done in this lap. He's not top speed, but he's almost 10 kilometers per hour down on the best one. So that's quite a big difference to hold all the way to turn one.
They possibly will be getting it a little bit earlier, as we see a new top speed already in FP1. So yeah, I expect the aero to give them a little bit more downforce, less wheel spin with maybe the ride height devices, and a bit more of the maximum horsepower being put down on track.
Hey, Michael, yesterday they said that they announced that the teams could use bikes without any aero, you know, mainly for safety. Do you think we're going to see any bikes without the aero?
Yeah, it's funny because I thought, yeah, maybe because it makes it better for cutting through the wind when it is gusty, but I think the gain, as you told us before, the gain that they get in turning now with the aero, it's too much to give it away. So even Danny Aldridge explained it yesterday, it wasn't like you could remove the side pods, you had to remove the top section, the middle section, and the lower section. So to take all that away, it would just change the bike so drastically that I'm not sure if anyone will go for it unless we get some severe wind tomorrow.
They are built around the aero though now, aren't they? So, and you said you've tried it, you've ridden the bike with and without, and it makes such a massive difference. Right, the bike feels planted. Yeah, I mean, you take the aero off. We did the test last year in GS, and you take the aero off because those are not. I mean, they are like they're really it's a system that was developed reading in between the lines safety, but for the aero, it would have to be they would have to be careful with the changes because they do provide stability and they do provide a bit of, I'd say, a little bit of safety as well. So it's not that simple that you can just take them off. So here he is. He's out with the. Got the Stegosaurus on. Yeah. Looks more like devil horns, doesn't it, for Mark Marquez from that angle? And he will be a devil. He will be in the mix this weekend, spicing things up as he heads up towards Honda Hairpin. This tight first gear corner. There's Gisalinia and Christy Gambarini watching on. There were other talking points, and we've got so many to get through. We haven't got long enough as we ride on what we want. But the post-race reaction in the Ducati garage and the Pramac garage to Johann Zarco. And Johann Zarco, having got past Mark Marquez in the race last night, and then got I read it a certain way, certain journalists read it another way. A lot of fans not like what they see. How do you read the situation? Because there was a telling video, wasn't there? Obviously, Gigi Dall'Igna going down to Pramac, and people at Pramac saying, done you a solid there. Kind of, we had to intimate most of it from hand gestures, this kind of thing. What's your reading, Michael, of what happened down there and what it means?
Yeah, there was a moment, I think 2 laps to go, when momentum was on Zarco's side. He was coming
Past him, and there shouldn't have been all these reactions in the box, but that's just my point of view. Yeah, and that I think the reaction in the box was what spiced all this up, because ultimately, actually, I spoke to all the riders after I was down there, and I spoke to Oliver, and he said, you had to manage it. I mean, you had to. Tires were, you know, you had to manage it. Tell you what happens in this case when the track is stop at the edge where you lose that little extra grip, and suddenly you find yourself where you can't override the bike.
I just can't know who the track's going to as well. It's hard to know who it's going to. I feel like if we were still in Europe, I'd have gone for Fernandez. But now be a strong team there. Track from the gate, one of the favourites for the title next year, and Tendolari is very talented.
I would say, yes, I would say
Okay, so you've seen a couple of ways of doing this. One was with the razor saw, and the other was using the drill press as a router, and then holding it up against an object to keep it straight. And I think you'll agree that's worked really well. The bit I used in the drill press was not really the right one, and I should have used something with a lot more teeth on it. Even a sanding drum would have probably done a better job, but well, not a better job. It's perfect. But the only thing I would say was it was a bit slow, and a sanding block might have done it a bit quicker. But you know, as you'll see, it was much easier to use the drill press than it was to continue with the razor saw. That's for sure. So what I'm trying to achieve here is a much greater glue contact area, and I'm going to put some 45-degree strip behind all these edges anyway, and this will be epoxied. So what you can see here is we've got a flat edge all the way along, and then there's a 1/8 recess. So what I've done is I've beveled or routed 3 edges and left the other one. So what will happen is that will fit inside and sit inside that rebate, just like that. So now I've got maximum gluing area, which is what you want. So I mean, the wood glue would probably be fine. The thing that makes wood glue work is a good joint. So if you've got a good joint between the pieces, then wood glue is just as strong as almost anything. You know, it's difficult, isn't it? Everybody's going to say, oh, you should be using epoxy. Well, that's not always the case. I mean, that is a beautiful clean joint all the way around. So, you know, the contact area is going to be super. But I'll do this with epoxy anyway, just to keep everybody quiet. And then we'll put some 45-degree strip inside along these edges. It's going to be a bit fiddly, but I can do it from this side. These may be something that you've not come across. These are used by dentists, and they've got a shiny surface on, and they just, you know, peel off. And you can use post-it notes and things like that, but post-it notes do have, you know, they're porous, so when you mix epoxies and glues on it, it can soak through and affect the next sheet down and it turn into a mess. These are designed for mixing dental glues and adhesives and fillers and stuff like that. So they're perfect for what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to have to get some more epoxy. There's a show, not this weekend, but next weekend, the LMA show at Gaydon, which is very popular. And I'll be going to that one, and I'm going to pick up some more Z-Poxy, because mine's a little stale. It is a few years old now. Some more Z-Poxy, some more either Zap or the Deluxe Materials Rocket, just so that for this build I've got nice fresh glues. So this is a 30-minute epoxy I'm using here. You could use something that's faster, but I feel that the faster the glue, the weaker it is. So I don't want this to be weak. Right, so always managed to get epoxy on my hands. Quite underrated as a clamping tool is masking tape. I don't like to use clamps unless I really have to. Clamps tend to crush the wood or distort it slightly, whereas tape I find just pulls it all snug. If the joints are good, then it'll be fine. Well, I think that'll probably do for this video. It's just a quick getting started type stuff. Hope you enjoyed the initial start, and next video we'll put the power pod back in the jig and we'll start adding the formers to the fuselage.